Well, it's a good evening from the studios of Radio FM 88 Australia in Brisbane. And actually, it's our winter. It's a bit chilly. I've got a t-shirt, jumper and a flannelette shirt, which is quite unheard of. I've even got bloody hug boots, would you believe? And this is in Queensland in winter, but generally speaking, you can see how cold it is when you just come from Northern Territory, where it's been 32 degrees during the day and 21 at night. And then, boom, you're here at 9 degrees. Not happy little camper. But anyway, Andrina, to her credit, has introduced us to Steve tonight. And so, or in the morning for them guys, don't forget that. So without further ado, hello, Andrina. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Jeffrey. Hello, Steve.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Dreaming the New Dream, and today is the 10th of July 2025, and we're having a heat wave in the UK, which is wonderful, but I'm cooking here already this morning. Anyway, without further ado, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Elaine Fenton, because Elaine runs the Healing Weekend, which is on tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, and she also does the Lighthouse in Poole in Dorset, which is around the corner from me. So I went last time. Where are we now? It must have been March, Steve?
Yes, it was 1st of February, I believe.
All right, okay, February. Right, well, anyway, Steve was there and he gave a talk, and I was really inspired, and I loved his sharing and all what he was about. And I thought, wow, this is somebody else that would be lovely to have on the podcast. So welcome, Steve Michell. It's so lovely to see you again and to have you on our podcast.
Thank you, Andrina. Yeah, it was really lovely to meet you. I had a great chat, didn't we? There's the stand there. Look, yeah. It was a great event. And to let you into a little secret, that was the first time I'd ever actually done a live presentation.
I know you said.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and I met so many lovely people. And you're absolutely right, Elaine Fenton, what a lady! She's putting on some great events. The Healing Weekend, I've been going there probably, it's got to be about 8 or 9 years now, and it's a beautiful, beautiful event. And I'm always honoured when I'm asked to go and speak anywhere, really. But to be asked to go there after being there for so many years, and the Lighthouse. Yeah, it was really, really good. So, and thank you, for your kind words. It's always nice to know that when I'm speaking, people actually listen. For a start, that's always a good sign.
Well, you had a good audience.
Yeah, it wasn't it? Do you know what? It's very. You never know what you're going to get when you go to these places and you put yourself out there. You can hope that there's going to be lots of people, but you never know. So when I actually got up there, the nerves were there, but I think there was more adrenaline as well. But it kind of subsided when I realised that all of the seats were full, and it was just a great. It just gave me more enthusiasm to do it, because I thought, actually these people are here to listen to me, and I'm going to make full use of that. So yeah, it was good, and I had some great feedback afterwards as well. One lady in particular that sticks out in my mind. She came up to me afterwards and she said, "I just wanted to say, really, really enjoyed that. I wasn't actually coming here to listen to you." Yeah, I know, right? I said, good way to start. She said, "I wasn't actually coming here to listen to you." She said, "My sister was having a treatment over there," and pointed to the corner. She said, "So I was going to." She said, "But something caught my ear when I was walking past, and I turned around and I saw you, and I thought, actually, I need to listen to this guy." She said, "So I sat down on this chair," and she said, "I didn't move for the whole lot. And then my sister came over, she sat down as well." She said, "And I felt like you were literally talking directly to me. Everything you were saying was so relevant in my life, and your process and your 7 steps." She said, it was like you were talking just to me. She said, it was almost like there was nobody else in the room." And I was like, wow, what an amazing bit of feedback. And obviously I gave her a nice hug and I said, "Thank you so much." And for the first time of ever doing it, that just gave me, oh man, I want to do more of this. I want to get into this a lot more, So yeah, it was a great event, and yeah, and I said, and of course I met you, which was awesome.
Well, let's go back to that you're a life transformation expert.
Yeah.
You created a program called Release, which you that you spoke about in your talk, and it's all about living your best life.
Yeah.
And so you've been on quite an incredible journey, because, like, I know you said, like, you were born on a council estate, and you were rather large at one point, and you were alcoholic. So do you want to start from the very beginning and share all the steps
There's
of...
me. There's Tubby Steve.
It don't even look like you, does it? I don't reckon, anyway.
Yeah, that was taken with my sister. I believe it was 2016 or 2015, maybe. It was on a New Year's Eve, I know that. And yeah, that was taken with my sister. And yeah, just look, I don't even recognise myself there, to be honest.
So you say tubby, but you don't look tubby. You know what? Tubby, if you know what I mean.
But by my own standards, I was, considering,
and
how
that's
I
it. Your own standards. That's the key, isn't it?
So, release the best you. Where do I start? So, 8 years ago, so on New Year's Eve 2016, as you pointed out, I was what you call a borderline alcoholic. And I don't necessarily know what an alcoholic is as such. I guess it's somebody that needs alcohol every day to function, and somebody that needs alcohol. And I wasn't that. I never used to drink through the week at home. It was only at weekends. Now, the reason I say I was a borderline alcoholic is because, as you know, and your listeners will find out, I'm a musician as well. And as most musicians will know, part and parcel of being a musician and playing at festivals, playing at venues, after show parties, hotel rooms, all this kind of stuff, it's the rock and roll lifestyle. So at the weekends, I was drinking so much, to the point where sometimes I would drink a bottle of Jack Daniels before even going on stage. So I would say that I was a borderline alcoholic for that reason, because we all know that guy, the guy that never knows when to stop, has the fear of missing out. So he always has to be the last one to leave the party, always thinks that something amazing is going to happen if he leaves, after he's gone sort of thing. So, and I was that guy. So yeah, 2016, New Year's Eve, that was a turning point for me, because, like I say, borderline alcoholic. And then in January of 2021, I was sat in my truck on an industrial estate in Bridgewater, in Somerset, near where I live. And when I was in the truck, I was at the lowest point of my life, like literally rock bottom. I'd been low before, but at this point, I was thinking of doing something very silly, which I'm glad I didn't do. I'm sure you and the listeners can always imagine what I was thinking. So I just felt like that my life had come to the end of its line, and I was surrounded by people that loved me, and my friends, my family. They were all there, but I just couldn't see that. And I had this feeling that the world would be a better place without me in it. And luckily for me, a phone call from my daughter, over, we sat and talked for about 15 minutes, and it kind of made me realign my thinking. So evidently I didn't do it because I'm here, but that was a very low point for me. And then on February the 8th, 2023, actually, not so long ago, I was playing football with my oldest grandson. I've got 4 grandchildren: Oscar, Oliver, Evie and Oakley. Oscar's the oldest, he's 11 now. And we were playing football, and I was literally, I was just out of breath. And I don't know, when you have that moment, it's almost like a lightning bolt or an epiphany. And I just stood there and I thought, who have you become? Like, you used to be fit, you used to be strong, you used to be healthy. And here you are trying to play football with your grandsons at the age of 48 or 49, 48. And I realised that I was unfit, I was overweight, I was unhealthy, and those 3 combinations just made me really unhappy. And I knew that I had to do something. So Today, as I sit here in front of you now, I haven't touched a drop of alcohol since New Year's Eve 2016. That was so. This,
Congratulations.
thank you, my lovely. It was that point. And by the way, I never woke up on the New Year's Day 2017 and said, right, that's it, I'm never drinking again. It's been a process. It's been a process because I didn't want to put unrealistic expectations on myself, and we'll go through this later. But I needed to do it on a. I needed to set my goals and little tasks along the way so that I could achieve the bigger aim, which was where I am now, never ever drinking alcohol again. And I can't think of any situation in my life where I'm going to wake up and think today is a good day to start drinking alcohol again. It has no place in my life whatsoever. So that's, I'm 8 years sober now. And again, it's really weird saying that I'm 8 years sober because that's what alcoholics say. And I don't like to term myself as an alcoholic. I was just below. Do you know what I mean? So, and today, mentally and spiritually, I am in the best place I've ever been. Especially going to the healing weekend this weekend. But yeah, I've got mental clarity. My life is awesome. I'm on track. I'm focused. I've got my purpose. So that's all good. And then I've been to the gym this morning. I go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week now, and I am fitter, stronger, and healthier than at any point since I left the army in 1999 when I was 24. So this Release the Best You system has been in development for probably seriously for the last 10 years. But let's be honest, I'm 50 years old and it's been in development since the day I was born, because it's all based on my own experiences, going all the way back to my childhood traumas, childhood negative emotions, all these kind of things. It's been a learning along the way. But like I say, since giving up alcohol, it was kind of like, okay, let's start to get serious about my life now. Let's start to do things that I didn't do before. Let's be aware of things that I wasn't aware of before. So, do you want me to explain the program to you?
Yeah, why not?
So, when you think of the word release, it's 7 letters, RELEASE. So, the program that I've devised it's a progressive program. So you have to do one step before you move on to the other. And by the time you get to the end of the 7 steps, there is absolutely zero possibility of you not changing for the better. Because if you follow the steps and you follow the program, you follow the PDFs, you do the worksheets, you listen to the audio, if you follow them step by step, here's a little bit of NLP, you cannot not change. You have to change because you will have done these steps. Now, you might change a little bit, you might change a lot, but you will change. So, if you think of the word release, the first letter is R, and that stands for recognize who you are. So when I say recognize who you are, I don't mean the person that you see in the morning when you're brushing your teeth. I mean the person inside, the person who feels these negative emotions like anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, shame, guilt, and your core beliefs. And on the flip side, what makes you feel happiness, joy, passion, excitement? Most people don't even recognize who they are, Andrina, because, bless you, was that a sneeze?
Yes, thank you. Keep on coming.
Most people don't recognize who they are. They don't recognize these feelings when they happen. They just accept that they're part of normal life when they're not. They're negative emotions. And of course we have to experience negative emotions, but when you're aware of the negative emotions, you can decide how you react to them. So for example, I know that when I feel anger here. It's in my chest. It's a big pulsating red feeling, and it's like that's where anger comes. So I now know that when I start to feel anger, because that feeling is part of an emotion which has been triggered by something that somebody says, I now recognize who I am, and I recognize that that's the emotion, and I'm aware of it, and now I can decide how I deal with it. And when you think about thoughts become feelings, feelings become emotions, emotions become behaviors, when you recognize who you are, you can work backwards from those. So, for example, let's say angry young Steve punches a hole in a wall. This is theoretical, by the way. Steve, he punches a hole in the wall. Now, the thought became the feeling became the emotion became the behavior was punching the hole in the wall. So what was the emotion? Well, the emotion that drove that was anger. The anger drove me to put my fist through the wall. Okay, so what was the feeling that created that emotion? Well, the feeling was frustration, for example. And the thought that created that feeling was that somebody had done me wrong, or somebody had made me feel frustrated because of something they said or did. Now, most people will experience something that will make them think that, they'll feel that, they'll have that emotion, and then they'll react like that. Once you have awareness and you recognize who you are, you can stop that in its tracks and say, right, okay, I've had that thought, I recognize this feeling, I know what's coming next, so what do I need to do? I need to change it. I need to do a pattern interrupt, and I need to make sure that the outcome, the behavior, isn't what it used to be, and it isn't what people might expect it to be. So recognize who you are is all about awareness. And I say awareness is everything all the time, because awareness is everything. When you're aware of something, you can change it. When you're not aware of it, you're not aware. You don't know what you don't know. Does that all sit right? Yeah.
Totally.
So once you recognize who you are, you've gone through step one, you then move on to step two, which is the E, which is evaluate your situation. So now we know how we feel and how we process and how we recognize anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, hurt, shame, all these negative emotions. Once we recognize how they impact us and how we react to them, we can then evaluate our current situation in life to identify the things that cause those feelings. So when I go to certain places, or I interact with certain people, or I do a certain action, now I recognize the thoughts and the feelings and the behaviors. I can then decide what it is in my life. Do I still want to keep doing those, or do I want to change? Because if I know, for example, that I'm going to go somewhere that is going to create stress for me, and stress normally causes me to have the behavior of drinking alcohol or coming home and being grumpy bum to my beautiful wife, then I need to decide, is going to that place and being, is it cathartic to my life, and can I change it? So, unfortunately, this is the bit where you have to decide whether those things that are causing, so when you evaluate your situation, it could be a person. It could be the person that you've been married to for the last however many years. That person right next to you might have been holding you back from your true potential, your dreams, from everything you've ever wanted to achieve, because you've just fallen into, well, that's just the way life is, we're together and that's how it is. It might be a boss at work. You might go to work. So many people, Andrina, get up in the morning, they go to a place that they don't want to go to do a job that they absolutely hate, for a person that they cannot stand, for not enough money to pay their bills when they get home. So it creates stress, anger, and frustration. So once you identify that, you can then sit there and say, I've evaluated my situation, and I know that going to that place and doing that job for that person is not good for my health. So then you have a choice. You either suck it up, buttercup, and you crack on, and you allow that to eat away at you forever, or you change it. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy just to go, right, I'm going to change my job, my career. Imagine being a vet. You've studied 7 years to be a veterinary nurse, a veterinary surgeon, sorry. And then you have this awakening one morning that actually you cannot stand the practices you work in. You hate the chief vet. You hate everything about your job. But you've spent 7 years doing this. But life isn't a rehearsal. Just because you spent 7 years doing something, it doesn't mean you have to spend the next 35 years continuing to do it if you don't like it. The choice is yours. So, excuse me, evaluate your situation. It's looking for those things in your life that cause you the negative emotions. And then once you're aware of those things, again, you have the choice to change them. It could be something as simple as a pile of letters. You know, we've all got that pile of brown letters, the bills that keep mounting up that nobody wants to face, and you stick them in a drawer or whatever. Sometimes you're going to have to face it because it's just life. That's how it is. But we put it to the back of our minds and we push it away. Evaluating your situation is about opening that drawer, taking out those letters and saying, right, I've got a choice here. What do I do? Do I deal with it or do I just let it eat away at me? So obviously it goes a lot deeper than these, but I'm just giving you a snapshot of what they mean. So you've got recognize who you are, evaluate your situation. And the next one, this is the big turning point. This is the wow moment. Learning to let go. Because not everything in your life is meant to be there. Lots of things in your life have appeared without your permission, without your consent. People, places, actions, reactions. So we have to understand that now we know who we are, and now we know the things in our situation that are causing us issues. Now we have to face the fact that we're going to have to let some of these things go. I might have to let go of that relationship. I might have to let go of that career. I might have to let go of the property that I live in, because when I face reality, I can't afford it. And my life would be so much better if I took my finances and understood that I can't keep living in debt. I can't keep living on credit cards. It might be that you have to let one of your pets go because the pet is just causing you strain and it doesn't fit with it. Do you see what I mean? It could be anything. But you have to learn to let go because, and by the way, that's not just physical things. This is about in here as well. It's letting go of those negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions that don't serve you anymore. There's a great analogy that I use, and it's been used by many people before. But imagine if between the ages of 0 and 7, this is your imprint period when you're a child. So this is where you learn all of those negative and positive emotions. So between the ages of 0 and 7, you learn anger, sadness, fear, guilt, anxiety. You formulate your core belief of who you are based on the significant adults around you. You're right, a pet is for like Thomas, and I totally agree with you. I've got lots of them. So, like I said, I've lost my train of thought now.
Sorry.
So again, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. During the imprint period of 0 to 7, we learn all these things. So imagine now you are 5 years old and your mum and dad are having an argument and they're screaming and shouting, or it could be any significant adult. And as a child, you look at that situation and you think, that's anger. That's what anger is. And let's say you pick up a little pebble and you say, right, this little pebble, that signifies anger. And I've got a little backpack on. I'm only 5 years old, so I've got a small backpack. And I take that little pebble and I put it in my backpack and I say, right, okay, that's my memory. I now know what anger is. So as you grow up through your formative years, through your teen years, through your late teens, through your early 20s, etc., as you get bigger, that rucksack gets bigger with you, okay? But not only does the rucksack get bigger, the pebbles get bigger. So imagine now being 35 or 40 years old and still experience anger, sadness, fear, guilt, all of these negative emotions. Now, that little pebble is a big rock, and you're putting that big rock in your backpack, and you're dragging that crap around with you at 35, 40, maybe 50 years old, because nobody has told you how to let it go or when to let it go. And because you didn't recognize who you are and you didn't evaluate your situation and you haven't learned to let go, you are still carrying that backpack. So imagine how good it would feel. Now you understand how you process all of those negative emotions and you understand in your everyday life. How good Just imagine that feeling of dragging around a backpack that is pulling you backwards for so long, the strain on your body, the strain on your mental health. Imagine now just releasing the clips or taking it off and then growing and just becoming aware that you've now let go and it doesn't serve you anymore. If somebody handed you a saucepan full of boiling water and they placed it on your hand like that, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to let it go. It'll probably pull the wall and burn all your legs, but you wouldn't keep hold of it. You just wouldn't keep hold of it. So why are you keeping hold of all these negative emotions, thoughts, and feelings? So we learn to let go. So those 3 steps, that's the meat of it. That is about you. And by the way, everything has to start with you. Everything starts with me. I cannot give what I don't have. And I know that's a cliche, and I am Captain Cliche, by the way. But you can't give what you don't have. So how can you give energy to other people if you don't have energy yourself? How can you give love to people if you haven't loved yourself? How can you give knowledge to people if you haven't got knowledge yourself? You have to have all these things. Everything starts with me. We all know about daily affirmations. So when I wake up in the morning, most days, if I'm not still half asleep, I say, today I am the best version of myself. Today I am going to be great. Today I am going to be caring, loving, loyal, and sensitive. Today I am going to take one step forward to my perfect future. Because it has to be in the present. I am. Not I will be, not I have been, I am. So once you understand that it's all about you, you recognize who you are, you evaluate your situation, you've learned to let go. Now we start to flip the coin and say, right, expect the best at all times. Now, years ago, my mantra for life, and I laugh because it's bloody ridiculous, my mantra for life used to be expect the worst, and anything better is a bonus.
Oh, God.
Expect the worst and anything better. Can you think of a worse way to live your life? But I was a pessimist. I was a skeptic. I was a negative Nelly. But that's just, these are learned behaviors that I've grown up with. I'm from a council estate. We're not meant to succeed. We're not meant to, the council estate kids know your place. You're not meant to be anything more. So it was just something I did. I just thought negatively. Now, when I learned to expect the best at all times, my life flowered. It just became a life because I started to expect the good things. Why morning and say, today I'm going to have a crap day. Today I'm going to anger easily. Today I'm going to get frustrated about every little thing and nuances in my life. No one's meant to do that. But on the flip side, most people don't wake up and go, do you know what, today's going to be a good day. The sun's shining, I'm happy in my life, I've got energy, I've got health, I've got grandchildren, I've got children, everything's good in life. So that's where I am now. I expect everything to be better. And if it's not, well, that's just a learning experience. Because life isn't perfect. And you can expect the best at all times, no matter what. It's not going to be. But your mindset will help you through when it's not. So, for example, this morning, I got up, as I said to you, Andrea, it's been a morning.
Ditto.
I've been to the gym. I come back. One of our members of staff couldn't make it to work. Wife's got to go to a doctor's appointment. We've got other businesses to run before I sat on here. Then I sit down, my tech wouldn't work, the camera wouldn't connect to the laptop. All these things were happening. I didn't expect it. Trust me, I didn't expect it. And you can look at it and you can say, well, I didn't expect this to happen, but hey, at least I'm getting to sort out my technical problems. Now I'll know for the future. And you just need to be positive. And it's easy for me to sit here and say, be positive, because every single person on this planet is living their own life and they're all individual and they're all being tested at every single day and every point in their life. But why would you want to be negative? No, I don't understand why anybody would choose to be a negative person. And I say that with love and I say that with experience because I used to be like that. So, expect the best at all times is about setting out your positive intentions. It's about the law of attraction. It's about manifestation. It's about putting out what you want to get back, giving out to the universe what you want the universe to give you tenfold. So it's expecting the best when you should do that all the time. So the next one, allow yourself to be great. So many people have so many limited beliefs, and they have so much low self-esteem because they don't give themselves permission to be the great person that they could be. Because I ask people this a lot of the time, a lot of my clients, I say to them, are you the person that everybody thought you would be, or are you the person that you're truly meant to be? Because most people become a product of all those significant adults that have surrounded them through their younger years and through their school years. Do you know what? I had this thing this morning, right? So I live in Somerset. We've got 6.5 acres of land. We have no neighbours. We have no light pollution. We have no sound pollution. We've got 8 alpacas, 7 sheep, 4 peacocks, 2 pigs, 15 chickens, 2 cockerels, 4 hives of bees, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 4 grandchildren. And I stood in my garden. I know, right? I stood in my garden and I looked round. The sun was beaming down and it was beautiful. And I stood there and I thought, if only my teachers from school could see me now.
Yeah.
Because they all expected Steve, the class clown, the guy that couldn't concentrate, the guy that had no discipline, the guy that had no timekeeping, the guy that just didn't care about school. They told me that I would fail. They told me I would never amount to anything. Now, if I'd have listened to that and I'd have kept hold of that belief, then maybe I wouldn't have. But when I stood in my garden, it's a 2-acre paddock, but I stood out there and I looked around and I thought, I wish my teachers could see this now, so that I could literally say to them, do you know what, you were wrong. I remember as well, my teacher, Mrs. Hamza, looking back, I remember it absolutely vividly. She said to me one day, Stephen, what are you going to do when you leave school? And I said, I'm going to join the army, miss. And I swear on my grandchildren's life, she laughed in my face. She physically laughed at me and said, absolutely not. You won't last 2 minutes in the army. Again, you have no self-discipline. You can't even tuck your shirt in when you come to school, and that's when you do make it to school on time. So when you tell me I can't do something, you might as well just launch me towards it, because I did join the army. I had a great 6 years. I did very, very well. And I was like, thank you. That's the best thing she could have said to me, because it drove me forward. So over the years, like I said, I've given myself permission to become the best version of myself, because it's not about anybody else, it's about me. And in becoming the best version of myself and allowing myself to be great and giving myself permission, it's allowed me to grow as a person, to get rid of alcohol, to get rid of anything that doesn't serve me in my life. Allowing myself to be great has given me the opportunity to live here, surrounded by my animals, my grandchildren. And again, I'm not saying this is not an ego-driven thing. I'm not saying it because I want people to say, oh, look, it's amazing. It's just the fact that everybody needs to know that when they allow themselves to be great and give themselves permission, great things can happen, and they will happen. And one of the things that I've recognized as well in my life is no one gives a shit what watch you've got on your wrist. No one cares what car you drive. No one gives a crap about the size of your house. We do these things all through our life. We spend money on things that we think are going to impress other people. Everybody else is too worried about their own life, you know? So some people will go and spend £80,000 on a watch. Listen, if you're stood in front of me with an £80,000 watch on your wrist, I don't care. It could be a fake for all I know. You could have gone to Turkey and bought it.
Exactly.
I don't know the difference between a real Rolex and a fake one. I don't know the difference between a real Versace shirt and a fake one. So I don't care. Listen, when you live in a house and it's a big house and it's flashy and you've got loads of money, hey, great for you. But you're still going out in the same size box as I am. So,
yeah, exactly.
and you ain't taking any of it with you.
No.
The car that you're driving, yeah, it's great, but well done you. But once you're gone, I don't give you a second thought. And I think that's the problem with lots of people in this world. They care too much about what other people think instead of giving themselves permission to feel how they want to feel. Like if you want to go out, oh my God, I can't believe I'm telling you this. So I went out this morning, I've got a pair of white socks on, and you know what slides are? You know, flip-flops?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen people walking around with white socks and flip-flops, and I look at them and I think, oh my God, you absolute melt. Why would you even go out like that? This morning I've got my white socks and my flip-flops. I thought, I don't care. I really don't care what anybody thinks. This is how I feel right now, and this is comfortable for me. So allowing yourself the freedom to be who you want to be, to act how you want to act, obviously being respectful to other people, and achieving the things that you're meant to achieve, it is invaluable. It is invaluable, allowing yourself the permission to be the person you want to be. So the next step, the next letter is S. Set yourself up for success. So now we've come along this journey to a certain point. We need to look forward. We need to understand, what is our purpose? What is our reason? What's our path in life? And where are we going? What direction are we going in? If you don't know where you're going nowhere. For example, if you get in your car in the morning and you just start driving, you're going somewhere, but you don't know where. And you're going to go all like this, and finally you'll get to somewhere, but is it where you were meant to be? Did you plan to get there? So setting yourself up for success is when you get in the car and you know where you're going and you program your sat nav. Yes, you might go over a bridge, you might come to a road close out, and you need to be flexible, but you're still going to get to where you were going. If you don't set that sat nav, you're just driving around aimlessly. So setting yourself up for success is all about setting goals and tasks and keeping yourself accountable. So before you do all that, you obviously have to understand what success means for you. And success for different people means a million different things. Success for some people might mean material things. It might be that watch, that Rolex watch, or the Versace shirt. It might be a Lamborghini. For some people, it might be spending more time with my family. For some people, success might be running a multi-million-pound corporation business. So when people ask me what my definition of success is, for me, success means having enough to have the freedom to do what I want, when I want, with the people that I want. So for me, success isn't about having millions of pounds in the bank. Success is being able to do what I did. We're Thursday today, are we? So on Monday, 1:15 in the afternoon, my grandson's got a play at school, and my wife and I both went to that play, and we watched our grandson. We never miss our grandchildren's plays. We watch them play football. We do all sorts of things because I have enough money and the freedom to do what I want, when I want, with the people that I love. So that, for me, that is success. And it wasn't always that way. I'll tell you a little story. When Donna and I first got together, I was 16 and Donna was 18. Bearing in mind, I was 16 and I lived so I moved out of home at 16 and I lived in a bedsit in a place called Lower Bristol Road in West Sidmouth. It was one room, so it was the bed, the kitchen, it was all in one room. It was damp, it was mouldy, and it was dingy, and it was horrible. I had a pigeon that lived under the shower. So if you can imagine the outside wall, there was a hole in the wall, and it used to come through the hole in the wall, and it would get under the shower tray, and it must have had a nest in there, and it used to come in, and we would hear it scratching on the shower. So yeah, it was horrible. It was disgusting. It should never have been allowed to be rented out. But I lived there. I moved in there when I was 16, and then I met Donna. I met the girl of my dreams, who is my wife now. We've been married 33 years this year. So I met Donna, and she moved into that dingy, horrible little bedsit with me. And I was a trainee chef at the time, and Donna was a trainee hairdresser. So we used to get our grants. Most of it used to be spent on going out and having fun and going to raves back then in the early 90s. We go to raves. And we survived on Cocoa Pops and chocolate biscuits. And I use this in my presentation because, to me, looking back, the memory of those Cocoa Pops and chocolate biscuits, that was the height of success for me. That epitomized success. And it wasn't about the chocolate biscuits and the Cocoa Pops. It was the fact that at 16 years old, I was the only guy that I knew that had left home, had his own place with his girlfriend, and didn't have to answer to anybody. All of my other friends, they were still living at home. They still had to be home at a certain time. Yes, they were getting their meals cooked for them, and it wasn't Cocoa Pops and chocolate biscuits, but they still didn't have that freedom. Remember what I said, success to me means freedom to do the things I want to do with the people that I love and the places that I want to be. So looking back now, it's mental. I can't even believe we lived in that place. But at that time, it was success. And now if you fast forward to I'm 50 now, and my wife and I have just taken our grandsons, Oscar and Oliver, the two eldest sons, we've just taken them to Canada for a 10-day trip of a lifetime. We took them whitewater rafting, we took them whale watching, we took them across the sea to sky gondola at Mount Whistler. We did everything with them. And the reason I'm able to do that, and I promise you, the reason I'm able to do that is because my wife and I have been going through the steps of my program over and over and over, even unconsciously. We think better, we act better, we eat better, we are better. And it's enabled us to work in a place that we love. All our business is run from our home, by the way. And so success, we moved here 5 years ago, and I said to Donna when we moved here, we need to change our whole mindset. I don't ever want to go to work another day in my life. And she said, well, we need to earn money, so what will you do? I said, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying I don't want to work. I don't want to go to work. What I want to do is create a money magnet here. I want us to create something here that people bring money to us, so we don't have to go anywhere if we don't want to. And we would never have been able to do this if we didn't have that self-belief, self-confidence, imagination and goals and all these visions of success. We wouldn't have been able to achieve what we've achieved if we didn't think that back 5 years ago. Because, by the way, the last house that we lived in, compared to this one that we live in now, the mortgage here was 5 times more than we were paying in the other house. So it was the biggest risk we'd ever taken in our life. But this place gave us the opportunity to earn 10 times more money than we were earning before. We just had to realize that dream and build it and make it so. So that's what I'm talking about. Setting yourself up for success is choosing what your success is and then setting your goals to help you on that journey to get to that goal. Because as we know, a dream is just a dream unless you have goals to achieve it. So setting yourself up for success. So finally, we get to step 7, and that is engage your future. Now you've gone through those 6 other steps, you know exactly what tools you need, what experience you need, what attitude you need, what passion, what drive. You know all these things now. So now it's time to engage your future. So this is about, remember that saying, you don't learn to drive a car until you've passed your test. And you can't learn to drive in a parked car. So now you've got all these tools in your toolbox, in your mental toolbox, and you understand who you are, why you are, how you are, all these things. Now is the time to put it into practice. So how do we do this? Reflective practice. People say that you shouldn't look backwards because you're not going that way. They agree to a certain point, but on the other side of it, if I didn't look back to 2016 and recognize what a mess I was then and how far I've come now, that gives me pleasure in my heart. I know that I'm doing well. So to look back and recognize your journey and see how far you've come, reflective practice is amazing. It's amazing. It gives you that sense of achievement all the time. So Also, as well, daily affirmations. Remember what I said, I am good, I am happy, I am loved, I am enough. These daily affirmations will keep you on track. Revisiting the past 6 steps. So every now and then, go back. Do I still recognize who I am? What has changed in my everyday situation? What do I need to learn to let go of now? Because I've started a new journey with much more awareness. So now I need to understand that things are going to change. So I need to go back. And also engaging your future. You need an accountability partner. Like, I go to the gym 4 times a week. 2 times of those is with a personal trainer called Kieran. He's 28 years old. He's young enough to be he's younger than my youngest daughter. But do you know what? I feel a responsibility to go to that gym and turn up and do work, because he's going to be there waiting for me to help me to be a better person. So that accountability, that keeps me going. So my wife is the best accountability partner that I've ever had. We're doing this thing called life together. And if I'm being a knobhead, my wife tells me in no uncertain terms. So, you know, my wife, she keeps me on track. She keeps me grounded. She keeps me realistic. But again, like I say, Kieran, my personal trainer, he keeps me grounded. My daughter always asks me, Dad, how are you doing? What are you doing? What have you got planned this weekend? And having that person by your side, and it could be a friend, it could be a husband, wife, it could be a work colleague, it could be anybody, but having that person by your side to just check in with now and then, or to have someone tap you on the shoulder and go, listen, mate, you're deviating from your path. You're becoming an angry little elf again, or you're being miserable, or you're not being true to yourself. You need that person to keep you on track. So, and then you just have to do it. You just have to go. It's almost like the last 6 steps of the course is getting you to the start line, where the guy's got the starting gun, and you are now Usain Bolt, ready to run the rest of your life in the best possible mental, physical, and spiritual position that you've ever been in. Well, that took me about 45 minutes. Did that cover it all?
There's no time frame. No, it's lovely you're sharing, and I just think, God, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had teachers like that in school to help? I think this is where the schooling system is something else, which we won't go into, and they're not taught all this mindfulness and meditation and thought process. And, like I know somebody was saying years ago that they're in their classroom, they would get all the children to shut their eyes and to just breathe for 5 minutes, and she'd take them through this practice. And like the change in the classroom for the day, they, because obviously they were in tune with themselves, and their days were much better, because obviously they'd all come in from all sorts of walks of life and different situations, but just giving them that space to sit and breathe and just be who they are just changes the dynamics. Why they can't do this now, I don't know, but anyway.
And you're absolutely right. And I'll tell you, this is a little conspiracy theory coming out of me now. I tell you why they don't do it. And I say they, it's the government and the education system. The reason they don't want to do it is because they don't want to give the kids too much freedom to think. The reason we have education is to keep people under control. Nobody is taught in school how to invest. Nobody is taught about compounding interest. Nobody is taught about becoming an entrepreneur and free thinking. And no one gets taught how to evaluate your own situation. No one gets taught how to allow yourself to be great. They don't get taught this. What they get taught is how to assimilate information, regurgitate it when the time is right, and then move on. They're taught that if you work hard and you study hard, you'll get a job. When you get that job, if you work hard, you'll get management promoted and blah, 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 blah. And you'll be paying into the system, and then you'll just become part of that wheel. And it's only so many people that go, well, hold on a minute, what's behind the curtain? Nobody told me about investing in property, investing in stocks and shares. Nobody told me that if I invest £100 now, by the time I'm 45, that £100 would be worth about £10,000. No, because then they lose control. And this is why we're starting to get things like central banking systems and digital currency. We could go down a very big rabbit hole here, Andrea.
Yes, I know.
It all starts in the education system. And my firm belief is, looking back at my own education, looking back at the education my grandchildren are still going through now, it is still stuck in the Victorian era. They still do the same things that they've been doing since the Victorian days. Like I've told my grandchildren, you need to learn about coding. You need to learn about AI. You need to learn about networking. You need to learn about digital currency. Because when me and Nana are gone, this is all, you ain't going to need people to build houses anymore because they're using 3D printers to build them. You're not going to need so many of the things that, like manual. When I was a kid, and I'm sure when you were young, people would say to you, get yourself a trade. Get yourself a trade, you'll never go wrong. Carpenter, plasterer, electrician, whatever. Not nowadays, nah, it doesn't work like that. Houses are being built in a warehouse completely by machines, transported to the site, and then the top is come and dropped on it. We've got 500 houses in Bridgewater being built exactly like that. No builders, no plasterers, nothing. And it's like the education system teaches you to become part of that little wheel that keeps on going. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely, Carol, that's right. We want workers, not thinkers. And that's the problem, you see. So you're right. I wish that the education system did allow for free thinking, free expression, and I wish that it taught them how to open a bank account. What are the pitfalls of a mortgage? When you're 15 or 16 years old, you should be taught how to make money. You will never save yourself into financial freedom. You will only invest your way. Saving money doesn't work because the banks, over time, money depletes in its value over time in a bank because it's bound by inflation and interest rates. Investments, it will grow. Compounding interest, grow. So when kids are 15 and 16, they should be taught, how do I open a bank account? How do I invest? What is the true value of money? What is fiat currency? And what is actual money, which is gold and silver? And all these kind of things. But they won't teach them that because then they become free thinkers.
And the thing is, they're all keeping them all dumbed down, you know, from being the geniuses and like so many children have come in as so gifted. You can see, you can see these children, you can see their energy, their aura, their eyes. You know that they've come in on a higher vibration to be of service, and yet the school puts that cloak over them. They don't want them to grow and shine in their own right, do they?
Yeah, it's basically sit there, take this information, only think about the information I'm giving you. Like, so ADHD didn't really exist when we were kids. It was just, oh, he's a naughty, he's disruptive, he's the class clown. I've got ADHD and I'm proud to wear that. It's not diagnosed, but I'm not stupid. I know I've got it because I don't shut up talking for 2 minutes. But when I was at school, it wasn't ADHD. I remember specifically my teacher saying to me, Stephen, you could do so well at school if you just concentrated and applied yourself. Instead of somebody saying to me, like, what's his strength? What's it like? He loves doing art. Let's do something in an art room. Let's give him the ability to embellish the things that he's good at. The irony is, Andrina, I'm a musician. I go out and sing in front of thousands of people on stages all over the country. When I was at school, music, I hated it. And I remember my teacher, Mrs. Cromie. Mrs. Cromie, only when I'm 50 now, and I still remember that lady's name. We used to go to music lessons, and she used to make us sit down and listen to Beethoven and Brahms and Tchaikovsky. I was 15 years old, and I was into Guns N' Roses, Skid Row, and 9 Inch Nails. Why would I want to sit there and listen to all of this classical rubbish and play a tambourine or a drum? It absolutely switched me off. Now, if you took a 15-year-old kid, maybe 10 years ago, and said, right, I want you to sit down, I want you to listen to this guy called Eminem. I want you to listen to the lyrics, and I want you to listen to how he matches the lyrics with the rhythm of the song. So the words, they follow the rhythm. And that's what we call rhythm. back in my day, if they'd have said to me, right, this is a song called Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. Listen to the opening riff and tell me how many notes he plays in that first riff. And then tell me what chords he plays. Here's the tablature. I would have been all over it. I would have loved it because I would have been listening to the music that I wanted to listen to. And now I'm a musician. But back then I hated it. And the other irony is I absolutely love classical music now. I listen to classic FM all the time. And of course, I'm 50 years old. Of course, I value Tchaikovsky and Beethoven. And I love Einaudi and all these amazing composers. But a 15 or 16-year-old lad, no interest, mate. Doesn't want to hear that crap. Do you know what I mean? So, again, if they change the... And by the way, they don't even teach music in schools anymore. They don't even teach home economics. I learned to cook at school. You know, we used to take in our ingredients and we used to cook. Oh man, it's horrible, isn't it? But there you go. I mean, ultimately, one of my aims, someone said something to me the other day, Andrina, and I didn't know whether to take offense or not. And I decided not to because I understand the sentiment that he was trying to give across. We did an interview kind of like this, and he's a PR guy, and he used to be an investigative journalist, and now he's a big PR guy. And so we had this thing because he's thinking of maybe doing some PR with me, with my book and my course, and putting me onto a lot of a bigger stage, a wider audience, if you like. So he listened to my story, or my stories, because I've got lots of them.
Oh yeah.
And he said, Steve, I'm buzzing. My head is absolutely buzzing with all the possibilities and all the ways that we could promote you and the way that we could make you into a personality, a key person of interest. And this was the bit. He said, you're almost like Andrew Tate. And I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. He said, you know who Andrew Tate is, yeah? Yeah, okay. So he said, oh, you're almost like Andrew Tate. And I was like, well, he said, no, stop. What I mean is, young men in this country and all over the world, they are looking for somebody to look up to. Now, if you take away all the misogynistic and all the horrible crap that Andrew Tate spouts, he's still becoming someone that they're going to. He said, I believe that you could be a similar stature where young men aged between 14 and 18 look up to somebody like you and says, well, he came from a council estate. He left school with no qualifications. He's had problems with alcohol. And don't get me wrong, I did drugs when I was younger as well. And all these things, somebody like me can give that 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old lad a sense of hope and a sense of actually, don't listen to those people that tell you that you cannot achieve something. You can. You just have to believe in yourself. You have to have the self-confidence, the self-esteem to ignore all of that other rubbish that people are trying to put on you. That's one of my goals, Andrina. That's one of my goals, is to be a person that inspires young men and young girls to not be caught in that rat race of education and to not be shrouded in other people's negative beliefs. My goal, one of my dreams is to be that inspirational person that young people look up to and say, if Steve Michell can do it, I can do it because he says I can. So that's what I'm saying. When he said Andrew Tate, I was like, no. But actually, the sentiment that he came up, it's like, okay, I get that. He's saying that I could be a figurehead. So I'll wear that any day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I say, it's just about getting out there and getting the word out there and more public speaking and more, more awareness of what I am and who I am and what I do, basically,
Well, you've certainly lived life and experienced life to the full on every level, haven't you?
Honestly, so my youngest daughter, Shannon, she is engaged to a guy called Luke, a lovely guy, and his dad, Marco. Every time we have a barbecue or we have a conversation, Luke always says to me, he said, my dad said it again. He said, my dad feels like, compared to you, he hasn't even lived a life. And like he's 10 years older than me. Because of all these, I've jumped out of an aeroplane 20,000 feet in the sky. I've dived down 25 meters below the surface of the Red Sea. I've been skiing. Oh, man, I've done so many things in my life, and I'm only just realizing, actually, I'm only just realizing that you look at other people and you think how amazing their life is, and you think of the stories that they tell, and you think of all the places they've been. And it was only recently when somebody said to me, mate, and it was the same guy, the Andrew Tate guy. He was like, Steve, like, I could listen to you for hours and hours. You have so many things that you've done with your life. Most people, they go to school, they leave school, they go to sixth form, they go to university. I don't think sixth forms even exist anymore, but they go to university, they get a job, they stay in that job for 40 years, they retire, they're done. And I used to think, and this is the honest truth, I used to think to myself, I wish I'd have got a career. I wish I'd have gone to university and majored in something, and then had that career and became something. But the truth of it is, I'm actually chuffed to bits that I never did, because my life, I always say that, hello Don, it's my wife.
Hello wife. Hello Lisa.
Cameo appearance.
You're live on Australian radio.
My lovely.
So they, variety is the spice of life, and I always say that mine's a vindaloo, because I've just done so many things, not necessarily purposely, but the jobs I've done are phenomenal. I've washed up dishes in a restaurant because I had to, because I needed to feed my kids. But I've also rubbed shoulders with billionaires when I'm doing coaching talks. And again, this isn't an ego thing. It's just made me take stock and look back and realize and go, actually, I could write a book about the amount of stuff that I've done and the places I've been, and the experiences I had in the army, the experiences I had at school, the experiences of being a young father, the experiences of being a musician, being a young granddad. The list goes on. It goes absolutely on. And I've only just started as well. I'm 50 years old and I still don't know what I want to do with my life.
I love it. I know the feeling.
Isn't it? And also as well, so I had a conversation with my friend the other day. He was here doing some work for me, and we used to be in a band together. And we were joking about how, or we were reminiscing about the times that we played at Glastonbury Festival and traveling around the country to do different things. And we were saying, in your 20s, somebody phones you and says, all right, mate, we're going out on the lash. Do you want to come out for a beer? And you're like, yes, mate, straight away. I'm going to, where we meet in, what time we go in, all the rest of it. And you're gone. Then you get to your 30s and they're like, all right, mate, you coming out? Yeah, I'll come out for a few beers, mate. I'm not gonna drink shots, but I'll come out. Where are we going? What are we doing? And then you go out. Then it comes to your 40s. All right, mate, we're going out on the lash. You come in? I've got to get up early tomorrow because I've got to go to the gym. I don't want to have too many calories, so I'll probably drink vodka. But yeah, go on, I'll come out for a couple. In your 50s, you don't even answer the phone. It's like, mate, listen, I've got grandkids out there. I've got sleep to do. I've got gym to go to. I don't want to upset my healthy lifestyle. And it's just, and I think they say life begins at 40. Nah, life began at 50 for me. 40 was just another stepping stone to get to 50 because, and this is for any younger listeners out there, this is a message of hope. Not only is life what you make it, it gets easier. It does get easier because as you get older, you stop worrying about the stupid little things. I used to worry all the time, am I going to pay my mortgage? Are we going to be able to afford to pay the bills? Is there going to be more work coming in? Listen, I've never missed a mortgage payment. We've had a holiday every year for as long as I can remember. We've never missed a meal because, by the way, we work 7 days a week. Remember I said I don't want to go to work another day in my life? I don't. But we work harder now than we've ever worked because we've got a doggy daycare business and a grooming salon and a boarding facility. And we do alpaca walking and I sing solo, duo, trio, full band. I do my motivational speaking. I do coaching calls. So the fact is, I work harder now than I've ever worked before, and I work 7 days a week. However, it's not work, it's a lifestyle. It's my lifestyle, it's what I do. And I couldn't do anything different because if the thought of retiring, man, it's crazy. I will retire. I'll have so many hobbies that it'll feel like I'm still at work because the ADHD, I have to keep going. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, with age comes experience, and with age comes a sense of well-being that you can't explain to somebody unless they're at that certain age and they've been through a certain amount of things. I wish I could give my grandchildren all of the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and experiences that I've had when they are 16 and 17, so they don't make all the stupid mistakes that I made and the frivolous purchases that I've made along the way. But there's no point, because that's my life, that's my learning. They need to make their own mistakes. They have to buy their own crap, and they have to live life. But the one thing I will give them is the knowledge that you will never save yourself into financial freedom. Learn what money is, learn how money works. Don't always believe in the education system. Get out there and start living life. Never give up. Keep moving forward, but every now and then glance back. And by the way, I'm always here for you until I'm not.
Yeah.
Grandchildren, when they're old enough to hear it, like, you know.
Yeah, but look at the inspiration you've given all your grandchildren already, like more than a lot of people have. Like, you know, being so positive, you've given them a great start in life, which will ripple through their families and onwards, wouldn't it?
Do you know what? It's funny you say that about ripples. So my grandchildren have been on stage with me in front of like 5,000 people before. Actually a couple of weeks ago, we did a festival down in Bideford in Devon, and for the last song, I brought all four of my grandchildren out. So Oscar's 11, Oliver's 8, Evie's 4, and Oakley's 3. And I brought them all onto the stage with me because I wanted them the experience of seeing all those people looking at them while I'm playing music and they're dancing, and I want their confidence to become big and bigger and bigger. Again, many children won't have that experience. So that's just some of the little things. And we have, with Oliver, he's 8 years old, he's a very sensitive young man. We have little storytelling things, and I asked him to tell me stories about his life, and then I tell stories back to him, but with hidden messages. So he doesn't think that I'm preaching to him, but I'm telling him stories about things that will raise his awareness about things, if that makes sense. But you just said about ripples. So I'm a firm believer in the fact that you cannot control what you cannot control. So you shouldn't worry about things that are beyond your control. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't have empathy and sympathy, and we should have compassion and care for everybody around us. But I understand that actually you cannot do, most of us cannot do something that will directly affect that situation. So I believe that we all, if you imagine a beehive or a bubble, so you've got a bubble. In my bubble is me, my wife, and my 2 children. They're in my bubble. The bubble next to mine is my oldest daughter and her 4 children, which is my grandchildren. Because my 2 daughters are the direct descendants of me, so they're in my bubble. My daughter is now in her own bubble with her direct descendants, which is her children and her husband. Now, in the bubble next to them is her husband's mum and dad. And on the other side is my other daughter and her boyfriend. And then the bubble connected to that is his mum and dad. And then in another bubble up here is my mum and dad. And then their mum and dad. And then my aunties and uncles. And so from my central bubble, or a hive if you like, if you think of a hexagon and the hives, I can only control what happens in my bubble and the immediate bubbles around me. I can't really control anything further than that because that's their life. So if I look after my bubble and I look after the bubbles around me, those bubbles, if they do the same and they look after the bubbles around them, and so it goes like a big ripple effect, in the ideal perfect world, we would all be helping each other out across all the bubbles. But I can't reach from my bubble to 10 bubbles over because it doesn't work. You know what I mean? So I think some people, especially in the day of social media and news, we're bombarded with the news all the time about the Palestinian conflict, the Ukrainian conflict, what's happening with Russia, what's happening with Donald Trump, what's happening in our own country. We're bombarded all this time with negative news. You can't control any of it. You cannot control it, but we allow it to be, to alter our minds a lot of the time, because again, we go back to the school and that sense of control. The media is there to control people, to keep them dumbed down and to keep them placated, while the people at the top of the pile do what they want to do while the others are distracted. Do you know what I mean? So I look at it in a realistic way and say, yes, I have empathy for all those poor people that are subjected to genocide and war and famine and all the rest of it. But realistically, this guy that's from a council estate that's done okay in life, I'm not a politician, I'm not a billionaire, I'm not a representative of any government. I can't do anything about it. So why let that affect my thinking and my being and who I am? I just need to concentrate on my bubble and my little family. And this is why we moved out here in the nicest possible way. We don't really like people. We moved into the countryside because we like each other and we like our animals. And we go back into society now and then we come back to our little haven. And honestly, the minute we turn off the motorway to come to our little place, it's almost like any stress, any strains, any worries, they all disappear, because we know we're going back to our little bit of paradise that we believe we could achieve, we worked to achieve, and we had the self-belief, self-confidence, and the planning to make it work. So, bubbles and ripples, and I think that's that's the trick to happiness. Is just concentrate on your own happiness and try not to be affected by all the negative things that are around, because it'll just chip away at you eventually, and it'll eat away at you until you're a negative Nelly, as I like to call them.
I like your expressions. Before you go, or before we finish up, tell me, how did you choose the name Ley Lines for your band?
So the ley lines, when you think of ley lines, they are mythical lines of energy that cross the world. And where a ley line meets another ley line, like as in Glastonbury, the Vale of Avalon, it is supposed to be a massive hub of energy. It's the world energy. So if you ever get to see the ley lines, which you could do if you went to the leylinesmusic.co.uk, you will see that we are a highly energetic band. We're on stage like that for an hour and a half, we're just up and down. So the ley lines are energy, and our band is energy. And also as well, if you listen to a lot of the songs, sorry, my dog's kicking off because the postman's here, I expect. A lot of the lyrics in my songs, one of them is actually called Let It Go. And it's about, and there's one called You've Changed, Let It Go, My Own Worst Enemy, False Hope. There's so many songs that I write and perform with the ley lines that actually have, they have therapeutic or hypnotic messaging in them. So, for example, Let It Go is about letting go of things from the past that cannot serve you. Live in the present. Be in the now, because the future's not here yet and the past is already gone. And there's a song called Fly Away, and it's about living every single, catching cliche again, live every day like it's your last, because one day it will be. Yeah. Now, it's easy to say that, and I don't mean physically. You can't, like, if it was my last day on earth, I would collect up all of my family and we would go somewhere where it's absolutely beautiful. I would eat all of the naughty food and drink all the naughty things, and I would just be gluttonous for the day, and I would be surrounded by the people I love. That's not realistic to do that every single day. But what I can do in my mind is am I happy? Yeah, be happy. Be content. Be focused. Have purpose. Have reason. Have vision. There's my family there. That's my 4 grandchildren. So
I've never seen some of them on stage yet. Oh, I don't know. I've just dropped something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Oakley and Evie were there at the Lighthouse. Actually,
yeah. Elaine, you had some there.
Yeah. So with Fly Away, it's like today is the only important thing, because today might be your last day on earth. Nobody wakes up in the morning or it's very rare that somebody wakes up in the morning to know that that's their last day. And if we knew that the last kiss we gave our wife, our husband, our family was the last kiss we were ever going to give them, we would make it last a bit longer. If we knew that the last time we hugged our mum was going to be the last time we hugged her, we would hug her a lot longer. And I think it's important to take stock that one day it will be your last day. So you can't live every day physically like it's your last, but mentally you can. You need to make the most of every single opportunity that comes your way. You know, every single person on this planet has the same amount of time. We've got 24 hours in a day, and it's what we do with that time that defines who we are. And you have to choose your time wisely, because it's something you can't buy. You know, and it's a very, very, very rare commodity, and you don't know how much time you've got. We watched a film called Time, and it was Justin Bieber years ago, and a phenomenal film. I suggest all of your listeners to go and find that film with Justin Timberlake. It's called Time. And like we have money and we trade money for objects, they are given time. And the day that they're born, I think they give them 15 years. And every single day, the clock starts ticking down like that. They go to work, they get credits, they get time credits. They can barter for time credits and stuff like that. When you watch that program, you start to realize actually how precious time is, and how many of us just flitter away time like it's nothing. It's actually the most valuable commodity that we have as human beings. And like I said, what you do with your time defines who you are. So, and here I am spending my time talking to all you beautiful people.
That was a good movie, wasn't it? That was a good movie.
You've been an absolute delight.
Brilliant, yeah. Sorry, lovely.
You've been an absolute delight. I so enjoyed listening to you when I was at the lighthouse. And I know, because are you doing workshops at the Healing Weekend?
I am, yeah. Friday, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, I'll be doing a 45-minute workshop. And then I've also got a stand where I'm offering a 10-minute pure relaxation session where basically people can listen to a guided meditation from me, and it will help them with low self-esteem, self-confidence, and to let go of any stress and worries. I'm expecting people to take their headphones off and just float away. I'm really looking forward to it. And then, of course, Saturday night, I am going to get up and play some music on the main stage.
Fabulous. Right. Well, I'll come and say hello at the weekend. And if anybody's listening that are going to the Healing Weekend, go and say hello to Steve Michell. And thank you, Steve. You've been an absolute delight. You know, through who you are and what you're achieving was what, when I listened to you, I thought, wow, what an inspiration you are. So, fantastic. So thank you. And keep on doing what you're doing. You're unstoppable.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. Jeffrey, thank you very much as well, buddy. It's lovely to meet you. Andrina, hopefully I'll see you soon.
All right. And thank you, everybody that has tuned in to Dreaming the New Dream this week. At same time, same place next week.
Take care.
Very good.